Welcome back to the class. So I'm going to try to be as fast as possible so that we can finish up this class on time. Right. So let us begin to introduce colors into this design. The first place I want to start introducing colors are from the text. That's why I want to start introducing colors and other external shapes that will be needed to make this design perfect. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to introduce a gradient. Now keep in mind that we're going to be putting in colors with respect to the color of his suit. This is a royal blue color suit, so we have to now choose colors that will complement his suit, colors that complement his suit. Okay, so that when we are done creating our design, everything will look beautiful and have a color harmony, in the midst of everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and start introducing my special effects. So I'm just going to click this FX right here, this button right here on your layer panel right here. And for those of you who don't know how the layer panel came up, I said it earlier, but let me just say it again. This icon right here is for layer panel. So when you hit that, you come right here to the FX and you click on that, select gradient overlay. So as you can see right here, let me move this over to this side, or maybe I'll just leave it down here so you can see that clearly. So this is the angle, this is the style. There are other styles. There's radial, you can see the effect of radial, you can see the angle, you can see reflected, right? You can see diamond. So we're going to be using linear style for this. We're going to change this gradient. First of all, we're going to use two colors for this. We're going to use orange and we're going to use red. So I'm going to be using red for the first part, red, and then the second color I'm going to use here is orange. So basically this is, okay, or let's just use a shade of yellow. This looks more brilliant to use, just a shade of yellow orange. I think this is yellow orange, it's kind of a mix. So let's have that. Then let's go ahead and choose the direction of this light. So let's assume that the light is coming from here, right? So this is going to, you can see how it affects this entire design right now. So let us try to shift the brighter tone a bit backward, because it seems like the red color was like overpowering the whole thing. So we can have balance in this design. So that's that. We've done that right now. Click OK. It's coming together. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is to choose that font up here and then give it similar color but a deeper tone of the color of his shirt. So you can see what I did right now. I selected the text, I went to the character panel, and then you can see color right here. So all you just need to do is to tap it once and it's going to open up for you to edit the color of the text. So you can see right here how the text has changed color. So what we want to do is to introduce black into this, and how you can introduce black into this is just this K right here, just increase it, you can see it's getting deeper, right? All right, so I think this is fine. Click OK. Now we're going to do the same thing, or rather I think what we should have down here is a bit of white and red, sort of. white and red. So let's draw a shape right there. A shape right there. Something like this, a rectangle, kind of something like this. And we're going to use this direct selection tool to holding shift down to select both nodes, and we're going to change the orientation of that rectangle to suit what we want to achieve. So you can see that it's all bent, but we need to position it behind his image. So I'm just going to go ahead and, like I used to say, right click, keep your mouse held, and then you drag it all the way down behind his image. So but then notice that the text we want to work with is actually behind this line right now. So we want to actually bring this line behind that text right here, and then we're going to double click on this icon right here. This icon means that we can edit the color of this shape. So just double click that and then change the color, choose this tone so that there's a similarity because of color harmony, and then we're going to tap this name right here and just move that down slightly. All right, so we're going to change the color of his name to white to make it have that pop feel. Once again, we're back here. I hope you remember how I got here before anyway, so you don't get lost. So I clicked on the layer for that text. I tapped A and then back here to color. All right, so we have that done. Judigal Isaac. So this is the very first step that we are gonna be taking today. So let's go ahead and save our work. Control S. Now, what's the next thing I want to do? I want to introduce a gradient background that is royal blue at the top and purple at the bottom. Let's see, we're just trying that out and see what happens when we do that. So let's try that out. So I'm going to go ahead and select this fill. You know, the problem of working with this one is that one side is transparent already, so we don't want to work with that. I want to work with the one that has two sides filled. So I'm going to choose purple for this side. Let's go a little bit. Right, then we're going to choose the royal blue for the top. So just go ahead and pick his color and have that up there. Great. So the only thing we want to now change is celebrating A. So we're going to go ahead and change that to white. Great. So this is looking good already. I guess we're liking it already. So go ahead and hit your Control S to save. Yes. And then the next thing we're going to do is to group these two fonts together. Now you'll notice that when I clicked on happy, something like a chain showed up. That shows a link between the two of them, and that's another way of having two objects connected to each other, such that anyone you move or try to transform, the other would also be transformed. This is like an alternative to grouping your objects. But then the reason why we're going to group them right now is because we want to apply an effect to them. So we want that effect to affect the both of them at the same time. You cannot apply the effect at once when they are separated. So let's just go ahead and select the both of them, holding shift. Let me just hold my shift key. I'll click on happy and click on birthday. So, and then tap Ctrl G to group. And we're going to call this, double click that name. Let me do that again so you can see how I did that. Just go to the name right here and double click. So hit your caps and then type HBD. Right, saved. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to go right here and tap my effects, click on gradient overlay. So I'm going to zoom right in, and the reason why I'm going to zoom right in is because I want to see everything I'm going to be doing right now. I want to see everything I'm going to be doing right now. All right, so let's choose any of the custom tones that we have here. Let's work with these ones for now. All right, so I've selected this one. You find this is almost a default in every Photoshop. If you don't find this in your Photoshop gradient panel, then you will just have to create it yourself. And for you to create it yourself, all you need to do is click on this node right here, click on that and select the color you want, click OK, and then you're good to go. So we're going to select this and click OK. We want to change the orientation to 0, the angle to 0, so that when we move these gradients right here, right, you can see that the brightest part, which is this part, is somewhere at the center. So let's bring this down a bit and then do this. So let's zoom that out a bit to see what we have done. All right, so I'll just go ahead and zoom in. So let's also apply another effect to this. Let's apply a bit of a drop shadow to make it look like seem like a floating text, sort of. Now, anytime you're working with shadows, the drop shadow effect in Photoshop, always uncheck use global light. And the reason you're doing that is because if you don't uncheck use global light, any shadow that you have applied to any other object in Photoshop will be disoriented. That means that anything you do on this object, if there is another shadow somewhere on any other object in Photoshop, that shadow will shift. It will move with respect to the global light. So it will assume that the light is coming from a particular source and that all the shadows should fall to a particular side, whereas that might not be what you want to achieve. So you have to always uncheck use global light so that you can be able to manipulate the shadow to go in the direction that you want it to go. So you're going to click right now. I'm going to set my distance, this distance right here. See, this distance determines how far away the shadow is from the object. That is from this text. Now, how far will this shadow be? So when I increase the distance, you can see that it's going farther away, right? So when I bring it closer, you see that it's closer, right? Now the size is to show how big, basically how wide the shadow is. But you can see that it's soft, right? So you really can't find details on the edges anymore. So the smaller the size, the more the details. That is, you can actually identify the shape of the shadow. The spread is for the thickness of the shadow. So let me just go ahead and increase the size again so you will get the picture of what I'm talking about. Do you see how thick that is? So if I were to drop the spread, you will see that it will become softer. Right. So we're going to have the spread set to 0, the size set to 3, and then the distance set to 2. And I'm going to have this blend mode right here. I'm going to have a dedicated class for you to teach you about blend modes, but for this class I'm just going to run through it. So I'm going to select overlay, and I'm going to drop the opacity to 25, like that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit on this satin. Now this satin creates a kind of lighting effect on the subject, whatever subject you're working with, right? So I don't want this satin to be black, I want to make it white. So I'm going to go ahead and select white. I'm going to invert it. That is this invert that was here before. Now I unchecked it. Now you can see that the size is really big, so I want to drop that down to 3, and I want to drop the distance also. Remember, in drop shadow there is a distance, so but this distance now says refers to how far away a certain effect is from the edges of your subject or object. So now I'm going to bring this into somewhere around 2. Now you can see what's happening right here. Let me make it 3 and increase the opacity so you can see what's happening right here. Do you see how lighted this text is right now? So let's drop the satin to 2, and let's drop the size to 2 as well, and drop the opacity to 50, and then hit enter. So we can see the effect we have created. The whole thing is looking beautiful. Ctrl S. Now the next thing we want to do is to add some white to this date. So we're just going to make it pure white. I guess you remember also how to change the color of text like that. Then we're just going to hit Ctrl S. So at this point I would say that we are done with our birthday poster design. This is a basic birthday poster design, no too much effects, but it's perfect. What we have done is to introduce complementary colors and then some color harmony into the base and the top of this design. And so let me see your work. I'd like you to reproduce this design using your own Photoshop software and your own pictures. Use your own pictures to create the same design. The link for the fonts, for the fonts I used for this design, the download files will be included in all the class videos for you to download the fonts. And all you need to do is just hit the arrow down on the YouTube on your YouTube on my YouTube channel. That's right below where the video is showing, and you'll find the links to download the fonts so that it will be easy for you to repeat the same style of design as I did. So I hope you've learned a lot throughout this class of how to design it, and we'll be having more practical series like this as we progress in the classes. All right, thank you very much for staying tuned, and do have a nice day. Wait, one more thing, don't go yet. I need to teach you how to export. So when you're done with your design, how do you get it out into your phone? Here's how you're going to do that. So go right here to file, right here, file, click on that, then scroll down, save for web. The reason why I'm using save for web is because something important you need to know: when you're designing a poster or whatever you're doing for websites or devices or anything that's going to be used strictly in digital media, you have to export for web, because that is how you preserve the RGB, the red, green and blue of your design. So basically you are exporting specifically to suit those platforms, right? So I don't know how else to explain that to you, but this is what I can say to you for now. It's just like a basic explanation, but I believe you got that. So on this panel, this is called this is the export panel for saving for web. There are a couple of things you can do here. You can see the size right here. This is your file size right here, and you're exporting in JPEG, right? For some of you, you may see something like PNG showing in your own. All you need to do is just come to this place, this drop down right here, and click it and select JPEG. Some of you may have this showing GIF or something like that. Just come here and click JPEG. That's all. Okay, so what you want to do is you can reduce the size of your file. You can see it's 187.9 kilobytes. If I want to increase the quality of this export, all I need to do is to click on this quality tab right here and drag it up, right? But when the higher the quality, the more the file size. But then some lesser qualities are still very good quality. So I can just take this down to somewhere around 50, and you see that we still have a good quality and the file size is lesser. Let's try something lesser. Let's say 30, right? So that's still interesting, isn't it? So let's just leave it at 50. At 50, and then we have that 129.8 kilobytes. Once you've done that, you can also, if you want to reduce the width, that is the aspect ratio, you want to reduce the size of your file in terms of the width and the height, you can just come to this place right here, the image size, and then change it. So let me just make this 1080. Don't forget the aspect ratio is 1:1, so don't try to make one lesser than 1, because the moment you do that, you are going to destroy the beauty of your image, right? So once we have that done, all you need to do is click on this save button right here, and then you can see that it came out with the name on your work. You just go ahead and hit save, and that's all. So you can now go ahead and look for the file where you saved it and use your Bluetooth to send it to your phone, so you can enjoy yourself and feel good with yourself for doing that awesome design. So thank you very much for staying tuned to the class. I will be engaging you in more videos on how to design this or that, and as we go further, I'll also show you some very crazy and interesting Photoshop tricks and manipulations for some complex designs. Thank you very much for staying tuned, and look out for the next class next week. God bless you.